Hola, welcome back everyone. Today I'm going to be running through my week of training as we hurtle towards the first big or next big event of the year, the Outlaw Nottingham Half. So let's get into it. Right, so my plan going forward is to do a weekly review of this final 6-week training block. Like I say, we head into this half Ironman event. I did do this event last year in 5:01, I think it was for me in the end. So it's going to be interesting to see if there's been any gains over this winter of training. My hope is actually to try and log a lot more training hours during this 6-week block. But let's see, let's find out. So first up, just some overall stats for the week, and then I'll break down each of the specific sessions a little bit. Also, I'm going to try and cut between some footage I've taken of the events, of the sessions, and then my Training Peaks account, just to try and hopefully stop this video being too boring. I'm reading some notes off my screen and looking at my Training Peaks, so that's why I keep darting around. But anyway, for the swim, I did 2 sessions, just under 1 hour of swimming, just under 3k, 2.7 kilometers of swimming. For the bike, 4 sessions, close to 8 hours of training, all indoors. And that was around 200 kilometers all on Zwift. And then running, 3 sessions, nearly 4 hours, and just over 40 kilometers run. Overall, just under 13 hours of training, which is actually a pretty big week for me. I tend to average around 10 hours a week normally, and that's actually been lower for about the last month since Alexandria came along. She's sort of huffing and puffing in the background there. Completely zonko. Anyway, now on to the actual sessions for the week. So you'll see here at the start of my Training Peaks calendar, I have a little note which I use to give myself some very specific type targets for the week ahead. So the plan is that over the next 6 weeks I'm going to increase the length or the intensity for most of these sessions before a final taper into the event. Just an example, this week I swam 1,000 meters non-stop. It wasn't particularly hard. Next week I'll swim 1,250 metres, the week after 1,500, so on and so forth. I call all of these key sessions. There are some others around these, but these are the ones I want to try and make sure that I prioritise every single week, because I think they're going to have the greatest effect on my performance in the Outlaw Nottingham Half. So for the swim, the sessions, I only really aim to do 1 long interval, which will eventually creep up to the distance required in a 70.3. So for this week I did a 1 kilometre interval, that's 40 lengths of a 25 metre pool in a row, I think so. I also make sure I do these at very easy sort of effort levels. That's almost like a long slow run type effort as a swim. I managed this at around 2:10 per 100 pace, with my hope on race day of hitting sub 2:05, and if I do really well, maybe a 1:59 per 100. My current PB in a 70.3 is at Weymouth, and that was a 41-minute swim. At last year's Outlaw Nottingham, I did swim 49 minutes. I had an absolutely terrible swim. Over to the bike here, I try to target sweet spot efforts, as this is going to be around my race power for a 70.3 event. For me, that's about 240 watts. My FDP is currently 280 for anyone interested. I did manage a couple of 70.3 bike splits last year at around 230 watts, so that's why I'm aiming for slightly higher or more this year. So I've picked out 240 watts basically. This week my plan was to do 50 minutes at this target power. I do this as an interval session with 10-minute blocks at a 2:1 work to rest ratio. One of the reasons I do this is because there's never really going to be a course in this country where you're doing your target power for the full duration for 2.5, 3 hours. There'll be spikes, easy parts, areas where you're freewheeling completely, corners, etc., all little micro rests, all areas where your power will be completely different. So I think 10-minute blocks at target power is probably a good way to train. If anyone thinks differently, let me know. Maybe I'm training like an idiot. It wouldn't surprise me. Again, the plan is to increment the duration of my sweet spot work each week. The other key bike session is a long bike ride. At the moment I've just set that to be 2 hours, which for this week I actually did indoors because I managed to completely mess my bike up the day before. I planned on riding outside, but more on that in a little bit. Now I know that 2 hours isn't actually that long, but as anyone who's done a longer ride on a turbo inside, you will know how much harder they can be. The plan going forward is for all of these to be outdoors, just to get used to actually, the feel of the road, actually turning, wind, all that sort of stuff. I also chucked in some random efforts during this to break it up, so there was some sweet spot work and some VO2 max efforts in there as well, just to stop it being boring. Then for running, I went to the club interval session on a Tuesday, which I treated as a tempo run. It was done as an interval session though, but with float recovery, so it was constant running. The target for the week was to do 30 minutes at tempo, so tick that box. Tempo is obviously a lot faster than my expected race pace on 70.3, but the purpose is just to get used to feeling very uncomfortable, get the heart rate up, etc. My best 70.3 run to date is a 1:29, which is around 4:14 a k. I'm hoping to better that this year at Nottingham, because it's a pretty flat and fast course, so fingers crossed I can. And then the other key run each week is a 90-minute easy session. I did end up doing around an hour and 25 on Saturday, finishing with my local park run again. Also this week, some other sessions I did. I managed an aero interval session on the bike just to work on some position stuff. And I also very stupidly decided to do another sweet spot session on Sunday, which completely wiped me out. And I won't be doing that again. I was watching Ironman South Africa though, so I did get a little bit carried away. And the day before I also did a very easy zone to 1 hour whilst watching Oceanside, so that was fun. I also ran to and from the swimming pool on one of the days just to get some more mileage in. That was 5 miles each way. That was actually a really great way to get 2 hours of training in before even 9 a.m. in the morning. So that was really good. I'm going to do that again going forward. Now I mentioned earlier that I messed up my bike, and this was because I decided to re-raise my front end to try and make it more comfortable during an Ironman event, as that's the actual overall target for this year, to complete an Ironman, a full Ironman. So I re-raised the front end, and whilst doing so I managed to drop a nut or a bolt inside my front fork. So I completely ballsed it up. Luckily I do have a friend who actually knows what he's doing when it comes to bikes, and he managed to sort me out. Now I realised that re-raising the front end of my bike is going to be an aero penalty, but I think the fact that I'll be more comfortable, there's going to be less pressure on my neck, shoulders, lower back, etc. I'm hoping I'll be able to hold an aero position for longer to compensate for that. And of course being aero isn't just about being low, it's also about being narrow, so I think that narrowness won't change by re-raising the front end, so it should be okay. So that's it, a quick little overview of week 1 of 6 weeks of a training block heading into Outlaw Nottingham Half. Like I say, trying to hit key sessions each week, which I think are really going to help with my performance on the day. Hopefully they will. I guess the proof will be in the pudding if I beat my time from last year. And then following Outlaw Nottingham Half, I will probably adjust a lot of those training sessions as we hurtle towards our first Ironman event. Still not sure if it's going to be Ironman Austria, but we will definitely be doing the Outlaw Nottingham full. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you in next week's recap. Bye.